and other sectors. Remember, both nations have been slapped with the highest tariffs of 50% by the Trump administration.
Trump's new tariffs have shaken global markets, and leaders are already pushing back. Lula and Xi are aligning through BRICS talks, signaling potential economic resistance. Could this be the start of a united front against Washington's trade pressure? The stage is set for a geopolitical showdown. Rising trade tensions with Trump's new tariffs. The return of Donald Trump to the U.S. presidency has already sent ripples across the global economy. His latest move, introducing new tariffs targeting multiple sectors, has escalated fears of a trade war revival. The measures particularly hit emerging economies and export-driven nations, placing countries like Brazil and China in the direct line of impact. Washington argues these tariffs are necessary to protect domestic industries, but critics warn they could destabilize supply chains and raise global prices. For developing markets, the risk lies in reduced access to the U.S. consumer base and heightened market volatility. As uncertainty grows, leaders worldwide are reevaluating their strategies to safeguard economic stability. Within this tense climate, BRICS nations see an opening to strengthen cooperation and balance U.S. dominance.
Reports suggest the president of Brazil wants a joint statement from the BRICS Union of Nations on the Trump tariffs. Earlier today, President of Brazil also spoke to Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. So it seems that there is a BRICS unity and a newfound resolve when it comes to the BRICS nations to take on Trump's tariff regime.
Lula's push for collective BRICS action. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has emerged as a strong advocate for collective action within BRICS. He argues that unilateral decisions by Washington cannot be met with fragmented responses from emerging powers. Lula emphasizes that only coordinated strategies will give BRICS the leverage to withstand U.S. trade measures. For Brazil, heavily dependent on commodity exports, tariffs pose a direct threat to agricultural and industrial sectors. Lula's call extends beyond economics. He frames it as a matter of sovereignty and fairness in global trade. By urging a common front, he hopes to strengthen BRICS as a platform capable of negotiating with equal weight against Western pressure. His push also resonates domestically, where industries fear shrinking access to international markets. Lula envisions a BRICS bloc that not only resists short-term shocks, but also builds long-term resilience.
Both the leaders, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Lula of Brazil, have had almost an hour-long discussion today. And while the Indian statement does not mention that tariffs were discussed, but Mr. Lula has made it very clear. He made a direct mention of tariffs, and he has said that both the leaders have discussed
Xi Jinping's response and support for cooperation. Chinese President Xi Jinping has welcomed Lula's initiative, reinforcing Beijing's commitment to multilateral cooperation. For China, the U.S. tariffs are seen as an extension of strategic containment aimed at slowing its technological and industrial rise. Xi's response highlights the need for BRICS nations to expand economic integration and develop mechanisms that reduce reliance on Western-dominated markets. China already holds significant influence in global supply chains, but tariffs targeting electronics, green technology, and steel threaten its growth outlook. Xi frames BRICS not only as an economic partnership, but also as a political alliance capable of shaping a new global order. His support for deeper coordination aligns with Beijing's broader goals of promoting the global South, securing access to vital resources, and countering Washington's economic policies.
What Mr. Donald Trump is doing, and this has also comes after Ayushman, Prime Minister's statement earlier today morning when he said that there will be no compromise.
Phone call between Lula and Xi, key takeaways. The phone conversation between Lula and Xi was more than diplomatic courtesy. It signaled strategic alignment. Both leaders stressed the importance of BRICS as a platform to respond to Trump's tariffs, while also reaffirming their commitment to stronger bilateral ties. Reports highlight that Lula emphasized the need for a coordinated defense of trade interests, while Xi reiterated China's support for collective frameworks that empower emerging economies. Key takeaways include a proposal to deepen South-South cooperation, accelerate infrastructure projects, and explore ways to enhance currency settlements within BRICS, reducing dependence on the US dollar. The leaders also expressed concern that prolonged tariff battles could destabilize the global economy, hurting developing nations most severely. Their discussion reflects a shift from rhetoric to practical collaboration, hinting that upcoming BRICS meetings could feature concrete proposals.
Seriousness, because while India is facing 25% extra tariff due to its ties with Russia, Mr. Ajit Doval landed in Russia yesterday, and today he has made the statement that the Russian president will soon be in India. So all this is, I think, a lot of messaging going on from India by rallying its forces and going.
Impact of U.S. tariffs on Brazil and China. The new U.S. tariff package threatens both Brazilian exports and Chinese industries, albeit in different ways. For Brazil, soybeans, beef, and iron ore face declining competitiveness in American markets, jeopardizing a vital share of foreign earnings. Agricultural lobbies warn that lost U.S. access could shrink rural employment and reduce GDP growth. For China, the pressure falls mainly on manufacturing sectors like electronics, automotive components, and steel, where tariffs raise costs and limit access to Western consumers. The ripple effects could spread across Asia-Pacific supply chains, amplifying the challenge. Both nations see their economic models tested, Brazil as a commodity supplier, China as a manufacturing powerhouse. This dual impact makes coordination logical, since each has complementary strengths that could be leveraged in trade diversification. The tariffs not only weaken direct sales to the U.S., but also trigger currency fluctuations and investment uncertainty, intensifying the urgency for alternative trade networks and joint BRICS initiatives.
Well, that's right, because, the BRICS nation are indeed at a receiving end, whether it's Brazil, whether it's China, whether it's India. All the three nations are affected by Trump's tariff. Now, the reason, what I find behind this conversation is
BRICS as a counterweight to U.S. economic pressure. The latest tensions highlight why many analysts view BRICS as the most credible counterweight to U.S. economic dominance. With members representing vast populations and resource-rich markets, BRICS has the capacity to reduce reliance on Western financial systems. Discussions now focus on strengthening intra-BRICS trade, expanding use of local currencies, and accelerating projects under the new development bank. Such moves could shield members from tariff shocks and encourage more balanced globalization. The bloc's diversity, spanning South America, Asia, Africa, and Eurasia, gives it a unique capacity to pool strengths in energy, agriculture, technology, and manufacturing. While unity has often been difficult, moments of external pressure tend to sharpen collective resolve. By presenting itself as an alternative pole, BRICS signals to Washington and global markets that emerging economies will not remain passive. This positioning strengthens its legitimacy and highlights its role as a strategic alliance capable of shaping the rules of international trade.
According to reports, the Kremlin said that the Russian President Putin, in his phone call with Indian Prime Minister Modi, discussed Ukraine and talks held with US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. While thanking Putin for his detailed assessment, Prime Minister Modi reiterated India's consistent position for peaceful resolution of the war in Ukraine.
Possibility of coordinated BRICS trade policies. The idea of coordinated trade policies within BRICS is gaining traction as tariffs from Washington reshape global markets. Analysts suggest the bloc could establish a unified framework to protect its members from sudden external shocks. This may involve lowering intra-BRICS tariffs, creating preferential agreements, and promoting regional supply chains that reduce dependence on U.S. imports or exports. Another proposal under discussion is expanding the use of alternative payment systems and national currencies to bypass U.S. financial leverage. Coordinated agricultural and industrial standards could also enhance competitiveness when negotiating with third parties. Such policies would not only defend against immediate tariff pressure, but also lay the foundation for long-term resilience. The challenge lies in aligning different national priorities, yet the momentum sparked by Trump's actions makes such alignment more likely. If formalized, these measures could mark a turning point, transforming BRICS from a symbolic grouping into a functional trade bloc with real influence.
According to reports, Xi Jinping expressed support for a long-term solution to the conflict. Ahead of the phone call, China slammed Trump's steep tariffs on India over Russian oil purchase, calling it a clear case of tariff abuse while urging restraint. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa also held a telephone conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin on the Ukraine war and further
Reactions from other BRICS members: India, Russia, South Africa. While Brazil and China lead the conversation, India, Russia, and South Africa bring diverse perspectives to the table. India is cautious, balancing its growing ties with the US while recognizing the importance of BRICS solidarity. New Delhi may support selective initiatives, such as promoting local currency use, but avoid policies that could jeopardize its American partnerships. Russia, already under extensive Western sanctions, views the tariff dispute as an opportunity to deepen alignment with China and Brazil. Moscow pushes for stronger energy and defense cooperation, reinforcing BRICS as a geopolitical shield. South Africa, meanwhile, focuses on the benefits for African economies, emphasizing opportunities in infrastructure and resource trade. For Pretoria, unity offers leverage to attract foreign investment outside Western influence. These varied stances highlight both the strength and complexity of BRICS. Members are aligned on resisting US dominance, but differ in their tactical approaches, making internal consensus a delicate balancing act. Global market implications of a BRICS response. A collective BRICS response to Trump's tariffs would have significant consequences for global markets. Investors track BRICS actions closely, knowing that unified measures could disrupt commodity flows, currency valuations, and investment patterns. For example, a coordinated shift toward non-dollar trade might accelerate global moves toward financial de-dollarization, challenging the dominance of the US currency. Agricultural markets could also be reshaped if Brazil and Russia redirect exports toward BRICS partners instead of the US. On the industrial side, Chinese efforts to create regional supply networks with BRICS allies could reduce Western companies' market share. Such shifts would impact global stock markets, bond yields, and energy prices. Moreover, emerging economies outside BRICS may seek to align with the bloc to gain protection against similar tariff risks. This potential realignment of trade routes underscores how a seemingly bilateral US decision can spark systemic changes across the global economy, redefining power dynamics in trade and finance. Geopolitical ripple effects beyond economics. The dispute extends well beyond trade, influencing the broader geopolitical landscape. A more united BRICS response would project the image of a rising multipolar order, where emerging powers directly challenge US unilateralism. For countries in Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia, the bloc's stance could serve as a model of resistance, encouraging deeper ties with BRICS-led initiatives. This might also strengthen institutions such as the New Development Bank, offering an alternative to Western financial systems. Additionally, stronger coordination among BRICS could spill into security cooperation, particularly with Russia and China advocating more defense dialogue. Such geopolitical ripple effects could shift alignments in forums like the G20 and the United Nations, reducing Washington's ability to dominate agenda setting. While the immediate issue is economic, the broader consequence could be a recalibration of global influence, where alliances form not only around trade, but also around shared resistance to US hegemony.
Significantly, which is rather unpleasant for the United States, who is trying to control all the dynamic of the foreign trade.
We have a very singularly bad incident of tariffs affecting that relationship at this point in time.
What comes next in the trade standoff? Experts remain divided on the trajectory of this trade standoff. Some forecast a period of negotiation and compromise, where Trump's tariffs serve as bargaining tools, but eventually lead to new agreements. Others believe the tariffs will harden divisions, accelerating BRICS coordination and deepening the push for alternatives to US-led institutions. Analysts highlight that the next BRICS summit could become a turning point, potentially producing concrete frameworks for joint trade policies. Economists warn that global markets will remain volatile as long as uncertainty persists, with investors seeking safer assets. Political observers note that US domestic dynamics, such as pressure from American businesses hurt by tariffs, could influence Trump's next steps. Meanwhile, emerging economies outside BRICS may explore alignment, increasing the bloc's global influence. Overall, predictions emphasize one constant: the dispute is unlikely to fade quickly. Instead, it may accelerate the shift toward multipolarity, where BRICS emerges as a more assertive force in shaping global trade. The trade showdown is only beginning, and BRICS may be shaping its next move. Whether this becomes a full strategy or just diplomatic talk, the world is watching closely. Stay tuned, because the outcome could redefine global power and rewrite the balance in international trade. Thanks for watching.